Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams with the man, the legend, Chris King. Chris, happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you as well, Jim. Hope you're enjoying the weather up there in Charm City.
Oh yeah, it's in the 40s. It's not too bad for this time, so we're happy to get it. Speaking of happy to get it, let's talk real quick before we get our guests here. An opportunity to talk about our friends at BetMGM. Now, tonight, of course, the association is playing, and we'll get to those games a little bit later. But be sure to take advantage of the BetMGM NBA promotion. For first-time users of the MGM app, all you have to do is place a bet of $10 on any NBA game, and you get $200 free if either team hits a three-pointer. Okay? Now, if you happen to be watching the game last night against with Golden State, they hit a lot of three-pointers in that game. It was like shooting practice. They had hung 130 some points on Portland. So that would be a good one to take advantage of. So let's take advantage of this opportunity. Hit your BetMGM NBA promotion. First-time users, use that BetMGM app. Put $10 on the game. Get $200 if either team hits a three-pointer, okay? And as we always say, you must be 21 years of age to participate, and always bet responsibly, okay? All right, so we also have something to talk about with regard to Mr. King. Chris, we know a lot of people out there enjoy what you do. I know I do, and a lot of our fans say that they do. Now, here's an opportunity to support our man, Chris. And I know he wouldn't say it, but I will. Here's what you need to do. There's his best bets. You get Chris King's best parlays to bet each day, every day. Chris will send you his best parlay tickets to play. Usually made up 1, 2, or 4 wagers. And, the old saying is, not everybody wins. But more often than not, they do. And Chris will keep that going. In the last 2 weeks, it's been good for Chris. As you can see, he's had 2 16 parlays, 2 14 parlays, 1 16 parlay, and 2 8 parlays. So there you go, Chris. You can explain that was worth $30,000. So in the last 2 weeks, Chris has 1, 2, 16 parlays, 2 14 parlays, 1 16, and 8 parlays. There you go. So support Chris. We like it. You like it. We all know we like it. Guess who's coming up next? Pete Medhurst. Pete, you are a guest, my friend. Welcome back to our show. And as you can see, it's Pete. He's driving along. He's enjoying himself. Cruising. And we got all the information there. Pete, of course, is the voice of Navy Sports. He's also got his own show between 3 and 6. And if you're in the DMV, you want to listen to it. If you're not, use the Audacity.com app. It's worthy of your time. And it's 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Drive home with Pete. He'll round third and bring you home. Pete, how you doing, buddy?
Good, guys. As a matter of fact, headed to Capital One Arena to do today's show. In front of the Wizards and the San Antonio Spurs coming in tonight.
There you go.
Oh, so at least you don't have to drive to Hamilton then for the Colgate game then yet, right, Pete?
I am driving to Hamilton tomorrow, so if I were driving to Hamilton today, that would probably not be a great idea since the snow and ice storm going through that area. But I will say, the people in that area of New York, they know what the heck they're doing when it comes to plowing snow. Several years ago, we played in Hamilton on a Friday night, and I was coaching my kids' youth league team. They played at 10 o'clock in the morning, not far from BWI. So, of course, being the good father I had a 6 a.m. flight out of Syracuse. Now, this tells you how long ago it was, though. It was when U.S. Airways was still running, because they ran the only trip from Baltimore to Syracuse. They ran several,
right,
but it was the only nonstop. So, of course, I choose the 6 a.m. flight. Well, there was about probably 10 inches of snow. I get behind this incredible monstrosity of a snowplow between Utica and Syracuse on Route 90, and I just follow that sucker.
Technical difficulties, please stand by.
And cold when we go to Hamilton. Every now and then during lacrosse season, we play them. And sometimes, if we play them in April, sometimes we can get it up to 40 or 50 degrees, and you actually see the grass instead of a bunch of gray and snow and snowplow salt and all that stuff mixed together. So the ironic thing, a couple of years ago, I filled in doing the races at Vernon Downs, and which is right down Route 90 from Syracuse. And Booth, I'm looking at all this beautiful country, and I'm like, man, I don't see this during the winter. Where did all this nice looking landscape come from? I mean, it's beautiful when there's no snow on the ground and it's nice and warm outside. So
that's between like June and August.
Right, exactly. You got about a 3 month. Looking forward to it tomorrow. Ironically, the game really doesn't mean anything for either team because Colgate's wrapped up the 1 seed, we've wrapped up the 2 seed. So the game, from a competitive standpoint, means nothing to either team outside of just adding another win to their overall record on the season.
Now, what do you make of, do you think Ed DeChellis is going to stick with trying to win this game just to give them some momentum going into the Patriot League tournament? Or is he going to try and, make sure nobody gets hurt?
Well, we're already missing 2 pieces of the rotation, 1 starter and one of the first guys off the bench. Those guys aren't going to play tomorrow. And I think, look, right now we need to, no matter who we're playing, we need to play well. We need to figure out how to score. We're 7th in the country right now in defense after last night. We're like 1/10 of a point out of like 4th, though.
Whoops. Hopefully Pete's fine with the phone there. He'll be back with us in just a minute. As you see there, Pete, as we said before, he's on his way to the Capital One Arena, where he will be doing his show, 3 to 6.
Good place to be at the arena, especially, with the Spurs continuing their rodeo tour on the road.
Here we come. He's back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You okay?
Antonio Gibson fumbleitis there. I just dropped the phone. We need to score the basketball. We have not scored the basketball very well here of late. We've held the opponent under 55 points. We haven't done that since the 1950-51 season. So, from that standpoint, we're playing, we're one of the teams in the country from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. However, in the one regular season matchup with Colgate, that's a club that gets into the 70s. We held them game that day, winning 69-50 in Annapolis. So, tomorrow's game, to me, is a wild card because you don't know how either team really is going to play the game. Maybe some guys get more minutes than usual in a game like this because of coaches can afford to do that. Probably.
Now, is the hope that Greg Summers is going to be back for the Patriot League tournament? Is that the game plan right now? Because I know that he's a key cog in the rotation, and you definitely want to have him on the floor heading into that. So, is that the expectation that that you guys will have him back from that foot injury?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any.
Have a little technical issue here. Hang with us. Pete's probably He's probably passing the Russian embassy as we speak. Pete, you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been on Mass Avenue, but there used to be the old thing that you'd be listening to WTOP or whatever, and you'd be down there and you'd make the turn past the moment you're within a block of the old Russian embassy, everything went to scramble. And you know, it was 3 streets past before you got back your radio station. I'm just saying.
So you're saying that we're being
drive
blocked out?
Drive down Massachusetts Avenue, going to American University all the time. You go by Embassy Road. You see all those wonderful buildings there in Northwest D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel very inferior when I go through Northwest D.C. because unless you're in a Mercedes or a Range Rover, you know, you don't fit in with Northwest D.C. That landscape over there is quite expensive on that side of town. But to get back to Chris's point about, you know, our lineup, I mean, I think if the Patriot League Championship game were Saturday, you know, maybe, you know, Greg Summers will be able to play, but there is not a chance since we don't have to play until Thursday. There's no way that Coach is going to push that issue and probably not push the issue with Patrick Dorsey at all either. And look, I mean, we're a deep team. We've got some kids that really haven't been able to play because we're a deep team. So, if anything, it's going to give them a chance to get some minutes. A couple of kids that can really shoot the basketball and have great futures in our program. Unfortunately for them, we've just got a pretty deep rotation, and they haven't been able to play a whole lot this season. But, you know, I mean, tomorrow, I mean, again, tomorrow's not it's about, you know, anything contest for both sides.
And now, Pete, obviously, since you're in tune with the Patriot League, what happened to Bucknell this season? They've been so good the last few years, and it's like they just fell right off a cliff.
They can't defend at a high level right now. They're not deep. They've got 2 terrific scores. The thing that really gets you is a lot of times in college basketball, I mean, you can just go outscore people if you got a couple of talented guys. But the league has been so deep. I mean, after you get past Colgate, 2 through 10, there isn't a whole lot of difference, quite frankly, in our league. And that's the way it is in a lot of mid-major leagues. You see upsets in terms of seeding, but some of the upsets are not surprising because the talent level is not a 2nd seed versus a 9 seed difference. Just the record, because teams beat up on each other during the course of their conference schedule. It's one of the biggest misnomers about conference tournaments. Everybody goes, oh, how could the 2 seed lose to the 7 or something like that? The talent difference in mid-major leagues is not that great in a lot of respects. Bucknell could go into this tournament and win some games because Andrew Funk and King Rice's son, Xander, could really score the ball and give Bucknell a great ball game. They've got a big man in Andre Screen. He's pretty talented, certainly defensive end. He's a shot alterer as well. So, they're on a night in and night out basis, they just haven't defended, very well. That's been the cause of their demise most nights in our league right now.
And who's the one team that, when it comes to Thursday, that you don't want to see, as far from a perspective of the midshipmen? Who do they not want to face?
Yeah, that's a heck of a question. I mean, I'll be honest with you. They all have things that could give you trouble. Loyola, though, we've beaten Loyola 56-55 and 52-50. So that's probably because Cam Spencer is a guy that can go for 25 on any night. Probably going to be the player of the year in our league individually. He's got a great chance to be the player of the year. We held him somehow to 9 points on Saturday. But you know he's just waiting to break out and have a 25-point game. We didn't have our best player in the conference tournament game last year, and they knocked us out in the first round. So that's probably the one team. I mean, we're up 60. We were up 60 to 43 on Lehigh with 5 minutes to go before we hiccup that beat Lafayette. We beat 68-44, but again, Fran's club, with him having his final season, you know, those kids are playing hard. They got a great big man in Neil Quinn who passes the ball incredibly well, finishes great around the rim, step out from 15 feet and hit shots. Holy Cross just came into our building and won because we didn't defend it for build up back, took the lead briefly late, but Terrell Gates, a great individual player for them. He's got a chance to be a first-team All-League player. Army, of course, you know, that's probably the last team we want to see because you get that extra emotional, piece of baggage that comes along with that game. So I can give you a reason why we wouldn't want to see any of those other teams, but I think Loyola, based on the regular season results, Loyola's been the team that there hasn't been a great difference. Neither team's had more than a 6 or 7 point lead in either game, and both games have come down literally to the final shot.
Now, obviously, I know you remember the first meeting with Army this season with the terrible second half that Navy played. They bounced back and won the second one. Is it safe to say you don't want to have the rubber match with them if you can help it? Because like you said, with the emotion that's boosted in, we talked about that when you were on back in December before the game, the game on the gridiron there. And you've got the same thing here. So are you saying you don't want to face Army if you can help it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalen Rucker's a terrific individual player, young man from the Baltimore area around here. Josh Caldwell, terrific defensive player for them. And again, when you have a player like Rucker individually, you have the opportunity every night to beat somebody. And they went through a really tough stretch here. They just lost 6 in a row. Got their confidence back in time, though, by beating Bucknell. They'll have one more game coming up this weekend. So, again, Coach Allen's team's a very good team. And whenever you have an individual player the caliber of Rucker, he gives you a chance to win every single night in a league like the Patriot League. So, you know, you're playing with fire in games like that, even though we've got 30, 40 minutes of good basketball against Army on film this year. In a one-game winner-take-all situation, all that stuff goes out the window because of the ability, the intensity, and I can tell you, 2 teams that will embrace the one-and-done mentality are Army and Navy because, you know, those kids know it's probably got their last football game for quite some time.
Pete, what about the league? Do you think the Patriot League's a too big league for the NCAA tournament?
Now, our league is always going to be a one big league, unless look at a couple of teams. You know, us. You go look at our schedule, our out of conference this year. Gate schedule incredibly well. Bucknell usually goes and schedules incredibly hard outside. Unless we ran the table in those games, similar to what an Iona did. You know, Iona did some good work outside of the conference, in the MAC earlier this year. The Patriot League and leagues like that are always going to be one big leagues as long as the NCAA tournament is slated the way it is right now. That's just a fact of life. You could go 28-3 in your regular season. If you lose your conference championship game, you're probably going to the NIT. That's why they kind of put that provision in place, so it gives those mid-major regular season champions at least a fallback into postseason play somewhere. So as much as we like to think that Virginia win would carry us a long way outside the league, unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to get us an NCAA berth unless we win the conference tournament.
But it's still been a good season for you guys. I mean, 19-9 is nothing to sneeze about. I mean, Ed DeChellis has done a good job there in the last, almost 10 years now. He's turned that program around. You know, he started off, I know he was 3-26 in 2012, but, you know, starting in 2016, you know, you've got to put up, 4 or 5 winning records in the last 7 years. And you got a shot at 20 wins if you win tomorrow, or if you get a win Thursday, like you said, in the first round. So, if you had to handicap how you think that the tournament's going to turn out, where do you put Navy's chances as opposed to anybody else?
I think look, because we defend at the elite level, that we have as good a shot as any team.
A little bit of a technical issue here. Hang on, folks.
Quite frankly, if that Lehigh game, we'd have. So it would be any streak is. I don't doubt our guys are going to be prepared. Defensive intensity. We score the ball. If we score 65, I think we give ourselves a chance to win. The ball has been excellent. You know, at least every. The league was non-scholarship, and virtually no school allowed transfers. Now, a bunch of schools allow transfers. We have scholarships. So there's so much that goes against Army and Navy in this league right now. And for both programs to be competitive and have a chance to win a couple of games in the tournament as they do speaks a huge volume to the job that Ed and his staff has done and Jimmy and his staff have done up at West Point.
Real quick, Pete, because I know we need to let you get going here. I would be remiss as a Nationals fan without asking you what do you expect is going to happen. First of all, in the battle between the players and management, and then once they do play, what the Nationals are going to be like this year.
Second question is impossible to answer right now.
True.
Because you don't know what they're going to be able to do in this sprint. I mean, we're going to have, a 2-week free agency period? Well, it might not even be that long,
right?
Quite frankly. And look, I mean, these are incredibly wealthy people on both sides. Mm-hmm. The players know they can't get paid without playing games. The owners know they make more money if they play games. Mm-hmm. So I'm expecting, someone's going to blink, someone's going to compromise, hopefully by Monday, so we don't have to worry about regular season games getting postponed. But at least somebody now finally put a deadline on the table. And in negotiations, when there is a deadline, right, it tends to make people act accordingly, more mm-hmm. aggressive in terms of negotiations. So I think from that standpoint, I'm hoping that the fact that there's a Monday deadline brings both sides to a sense of urgency so we can get this game back going here and keep it on time for the 2022 season. Because the last thing you want to do to your fans is alienate them mm-hmm. with a labor situation that postpones games. And hopefully both sides will find some compromise by Monday, and we can get the baseball season started.
Okay, Pete, we know we can listen to you Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on the Team 980 in D.C. and, of course, on the Odyssey app. We know that we can catch the Navy games, which you can get on TuneIn on that app, from WBAL in Baltimore and WNAV in Navy. You're also involved with harness racing at Rosecroft. When you're not sleeping that 5 minutes, what else are you doing these days?
It's a great question. I mean, let's see.
Did I leave anything out? CBS. I left out CBS.
I think you got most of that. I do have a couple of games on the Big Ten Network coming up in April for the Cross right now. So I'll handle it. I've got Maryland and Ohio State, Johns Hopkins and Rutgers coming up on the Big Ten Network in the month of April. Okay. Hopefully some more as the lacrosse season starts going. So outside of that, though, I think you got everything pretty much covered. Otherwise, the only thing I do is try to get a couple hours sleep, help coach my daughter's softball team. So.
There you go, brother. Well, drive safely over to the arena. We'll be listening to you tomorrow. And as always, my friend, thanks very much for joining us.
You got it, Jim. Chris, appreciate you having me.
All right,
Thank
buddy.
you, Pete.
Be well. Pete Medhurst, ladies and gentlemen, our guest, voice of Navy Sports. Listen to him. You can listen to him after us. He'll be at the, hopefully by that time he'll be at the arena, Capital One Arena. And,
he brought a lot of good information about the Patriot League, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And catch him on the Team 990 if you're in Washington. If not, you can catch it in the Odyssey app, which, by the way, is a very good app, by all means. All right.
I was going to ask him about BU real quick, but I know he had to go, so I just want to get his take on what he thought of BU's chances, considering, the Terriers have 20 wins, and they have two of probably the top 5 players in the league, including one name that's a pain in the rear to pronounce, Sukmail Mathan and Javante McCoy, a couple of seniors from BU. I imagine that Pete has high regard for them as well.
I would think so. All right. We got you and I, my friend. We got some business to take care of, and got some time to get going here. So let's hit the hardwood in the college ranks, and there's some interesting games. Let's start with Iona. Speaking of Rick Pitino and Canisius.
Yeah, Canisius, I'm familiar with, because it's a school from Buffalo. Reggie Witherspoon coaches there. He took over the program after he left UB, which was back with Bobby Hurley, and then now Nate Oates, and now it's Jim Waitsell coaching the Bulls. So he went across town, basically. Unfortunately, the Golden Griffins not nearly as successful as the Buffalo Bulls. They're 8-19, they're 4-12 in the MAC, and that last number is really galling when you look at it. 0-14 on the road this season. Iona, 22-5. Everybody knows how well Pitino's team has played this year over there in New Rochelle. They're 14-2 in the MAC. They're 11-0 at home. Canisius does not score. They are horrible shooting the ball. And as you look at those metrics, they're terrible no matter what they're shooting. They don't shoot well, period. They don't shoot well from 2. They don't shoot well from 3. They don't shoot well at the free throw line. They're one of those teams that you have to wonder if they can actually succeed in the layup drill. Meanwhile, you're facing an Iona team that is 62nd in the nation in scoring offense at 75.9 points a game. They're 180th in field goal percentage. They're 188th in 2-point shooting. They don't shoot the 3 all that well, which is surprising, but I guess that's not Pitino's style at this point of his career. One thing Iona does is they get to the free throw line a lot. They're 8th in made free throws per game at 16.2. They're 3rd in free throw attempts at 23.1. I guess when you get to the line 23 times a game, it can offset the fact that you're a mediocre team when it comes to shooting free throws. Jim, did you change the slide on me?
No. It's still there. It's Iona.
No, it just switched a second on my screen.
Oh.
But Canisius 3-7-1 against the spread in their last 11 on the road. They're 4-10-1 after a straight-up loss. Iona 4-1 in their last 5 at home against teams with a losing road record. And they've won the last 6. They beat Canisius by 8 about 3 weeks ago in the Kessler Athletic Center. Playing at home, when you look at this number here that says 0-14 on the road, and the one next to it that says 11-0 at home, I don't think Canisius hangs in this game very long at all. I just don't have faith in them at this point. You look at the fact that they're going to be minus probably Xavier Long again. He's not a big contributor, but he's still a guy that they rely on to do stuff. He scored 16 and 15 points in 2 of his last 3 games for the Canisius. Without him, and let's face it, they don't have a ton of options offensively to begin with. I'm going to take Iona to roll to a double-digit win and deal Canisius another loss heading towards the MAC tournament.
I'll say this. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Pitino's going to take another team to the tournament. I mean, that's just, a foregone conclusion at this point. The other thing is that you go all the way back to his days at Providence. One of the things that Pitino's teams always do is hit free throws.
They're not great at the line this year, but they get there a lot. So
right.
I guess volume trumps percentage in this case, because you can shoot 80%, but if you're only getting to the line 10 times a game, it's not going to be as effective as teams that shoot 70% that's getting to the line 23 times.
Right, it's not going to help you. All right, from Iona and Canisius, we go on to Harvard and Princeton.
We're going to go
the SAT Bowl.
Yep.
Yes.
Real quick, David asked how many times Iona's covered. 15 points. They've covered 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 4, 5, 6 times this season, including on last Sunday against Fairfield when they won 76-58. So at least that gives you a little bit of a look into how many times they've done that. They also had a couple games that they won by 14. And another one, there's a couple more by double figures that weren't quite to 15. But in this case, Canisius doesn't score. And that's going to be an issue for them. I know it's an ugly number, David, I get it. But I also have watched Canisius play basketball, and they don't score a ton of points. So it doesn't necessarily take a big number to beat them. Or as, Bobby the Brain Heenan would say, it'll take a good man to beat him, but it won't take him long.
Well, I mean, these are two teams that over the years have been, right there at the top of the Ivies.
Yeah, the Ivies, I'm surprised that Harvard is actually 4th in the conference despite being 5 and 6 in the Ivy League this season. Tommy Amaker's team, they've been up and down. I guess, part of that is the fact that they scheduled tough. These teams will meet again Sunday at Harvard, so keep an eye out for that. The problem for the Crimson here, not just going on the road, because Princeton plays excellent basketball at home, it's the fact that Harvard's offense hasn't been as good as we would have expected. I don't know what the letdown has been. I mean, they've still got some of the same guys they've had. Noah Kirkwood is there. Cale Catchings is still there. Lucas Dakota, but it's not the same production that we've seen from them in previous years. We saw Harvard had lost 5 of 6 from late January to mid-February. They lost to Cornell, they lost to Penn, they lost to Yale twice, and those ones are going to really burn Tommy Amakers. They lost 2 3-point games to Yale. Then they lost to Penn. They bounced back by beating Columbia, and they beat Cornell in overtime at home, but now they've got to go back on the road to deal with Princeton. And the big difference, like I said, it comes down to scoring. Harvard is 151st in scoring offense. They don't shoot well, just 43.2%. They're 178 in two-point shooting. They shoot a lot of threes, but look at that percentage, 33.6% from beyond the arc. It's not necessarily going to get it done. And you look at Princeton, normally you think of Princeton, you think of Pete Carrilli, you think of the backdoor cuts, you think of grinding out games like that game they had against Georgetown in the 89 tournament when they were a 16 seed and lost 50-49 when they missed a layup right at the end of regulation. But now you look at Mitch Henderson's team, they're a top 10 team in scoring offense. They're putting up over 80 points a night. What kind of Princeton team is this? You think that you're watching UNLV back when Tarkanian was coaching.
Right.
And they shoot the ball well. 13th in the country, 48.6% from the field. They shoot 57.4% inside the arc. And if that wasn't bad enough, they'll kill you from the perimeter. 10.8 threes a game, that's 7th in the country. They're 16th in three-point shooting. And I guess, it's a good thing they shoot that well from the field because they're terrible at the free throw line. 344th in the country at 65.4%. That's not going to get it done in close games. But I guess when you're bombing people by putting up 80 a night, you don't get in too many close games. They're coming off a win over Yale. I mean, that's a big one for them because obviously Yale is, I believe, still atop the Ivy because Princeton is 9-2,
right?
And Yale is 10-2. So
half game on them.
Yeah, Yale has Cornell on the road tomorrow, and then they close with Brown next week. So these are two must wins pretty much for Princeton. Friday, Sunday, and then they'll close against Penn, which will be another entertaining. That game will be at the Palestra. So Princeton can't get caught looking ahead, but they're fortunate that they're catching a Harvard team that's 5-16-1 against the spread in their last 22 after a straight-up win, 1-6 in their last 7 on Friday, 0-3-1 in their last 4 overall. Meanwhile, Princeton has covered the line in each of their last 4 games, and they're 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 after an ATS victory. I think playing at home in front of the crowd at the always exciting Jadwin Gymnasium in Princeton, New Jersey, I think the Tigers will get the win. They'll go to 20-5 on the year, much to the chagrin of John, who can't bet on this game because they won't let him bet on Princeton or Rutgers living in that New York, New Jersey metropolitan area.
That's the way it rolls. Okay, let's move on to the ice, because we got some good games coming up on the ice.
Yeah, and I know that everybody was talking about, when Pete was on, about how the ice was upside down last night, and they're right. Mm-hmm. Who the hell would have thought the Vancouver Canucks would whip the Calgary Flames 7-1 in a game that was 7-0 at one point?
Yeah.
And by the time I sat down to look at what was going on in the games last night, New Jersey was up 3-0 on Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh and moved to a 6-1 win. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you go to get a snack, and the game was already over.
Well, the Caps barely showed up. I mean, they must have been in the car with Pete.
But at least that one I got.
Well, yeah.
I said the Rangers would win.
Right.
But I didn't expect Calgary or Pittsburgh to roll over and die. I mean, especially against. I can understand Vancouver beating Calgary. That's fine because Vancouver was at home and everything else. Pittsburgh lost in their own building by 5 goals to a New Jersey team that is horrible. And you said it yesterday. New Jersey is a terrible hockey team.
Yep. And we talked about Pittsburgh in the glass house, not losing in the glass house.
Right. So apparently they decided to just prove that they could.
Right. People who live in glass houses. There you go. But one thing we do know, and that is the Avalanche be good. And tonight...
Winnipeg's not bad, but...
No.
But I like... This is at the Ball Arena, and last time we talked about how Colorado was so good at home, they turned around and lost to Dallas.
Right.
But, I don't expect that to happen here. Speaking of Dallas, they beat Winnipeg the other day in overtime. So... Connor Hellebuyck net 17-8-8 with 280 goals against, 914 save percentage, 3 shutouts from the Jets. Darcy Kemper 25-6-2 with 247 goals against, 919 save percentage, 3 shutouts for Colorado. Kemper would probably be a dark horse for the Vezina if he could ever quit losing his skate blade on a regular basis, because it seems like every other night at some point his skate blade falls off and they have to either pause the game and send in backup or or something else. But, with so many other good goaltenders, like we've talked about Vasilevsky, we've talked about Shesterkin, Frederik Andersen.
Right.
Some people think Karel Vejmelka from the Coyotes should be a candidate. I don't know how you can justify that with a losing record as bad as Arizona is. That's called foreshadowing, kids.
Right.
But, Kemper will probably get a vote here and there, but let's be honest, people go to Colorado to watch the Avalanche light the lamp with regularity. And that's what we're expecting here. The Jets just 20th in goals for, they're 16th in goals against. The Avalanche second in goals per game, 3.94. If you look at their goals per game at home, that number jumps all the way up to. Let me look because I had it written down and I closed the tab because that happens. It goes all the way up to 408. So it's not quite Florida level. And speaking of Florida, thanks for them not showing up last night. Though that one didn't go over, so at least I can take solace in that.
Right.
The Jets 2-9 in their last 11 on one day of rest. They're 1-5 in their last 6 on Friday. Colorado has won their last 5 games at home after a 7-day plus road trip. Look at that stat, 42-9 in their last 51 at home. The Jets, and this record here, the 1-7, that's their record in Colorado since returning to Winnipeg. That's not from when Winnipeg was here before. That's not from when Atlanta was Winnipeg or anything else. That's as the Winnipeg Jets. They're 1-7 in their 8 meetings in Colorado. They're 1-5 in the last 6 meetings overall. Avalanche should win this one going away over Winnipeg.
A Rocky Mountain High. All right. So, from here, it's time to move on to the association.
No, we still have Vegas.
But after that, we'll move to these.
See that? That's called improvising.
That's called calling it quickly.
False start.
Yeah.
Offense.
Golden Knights. I got the flag right here.
Yeah, the Golden Knights on the road. They're going to go to the Gila River Arena, where there's reportedly an estimated 12 people in attendance.
All in the line for beer.
Yeah, they're all on the line for beer because they're hoping to get drunk
Right.
before watching the Coyotes take the ice. Vegas 29-18-4, Arizona 13, and a whole bunch of numbers that are way more than 13 in the loss column. 13-34-4. They're just 6-19-1 at home this season. It's supposed to be Laurent Brossoit 9-4-3 with a 270 goals against, a 903 save percentage, one shutout for Vegas as Robin Leonard's still dealing with an injury. Meanwhile, the aforementioned Karel Vejmelka, that's right, those are Vezina numbers, people, 7-21-1 with a 351 goals against, a 900 save percentage, and a shutout. Though I will say this, if Vejmelka played against Toronto all the time, he probably would be a Vezina winner because he stopped, 48 out of 49 shots in that game and pissed me off for staying up and watching it on TNT.
I'll tell you what, that line, couple lines down, Golden Knights are 49-17 in their last 66 versus the team. That's a monster number.
Yeah, and so is the 10-3 in their last 13 on the road because you don't think of these teams necessarily being good road teams. And if you think about that, before that 10-3 run, Vegas was just 5-4-1 as a road team.
Mm-hmm.
But now they've got Jack Eichel in there. He's starting to, get himself acclimated.
Right.
I know putting Mark Stone on long-term IR, stuff like that's always going to be a bone of contention with me because it's basically legalized certain cap circumvention. We saw Tampa Bay do it with Kucherov last year. I'd like to see that loophole closed if they ever do another CBA, or somebody decides and actually realizes that Gary Bettman is not competent to be a commissioner of anything other than maybe an ice cream stand. But the fact is, it is what it is right now. Arizona 11-40 in their last 51 against teams with a winning record. They're 6-22 in their last 28 as a home underdog. Vegas has gone 5-1 in the last 6 meetings. They're 7-3 in the last 10 meetings in Arizona. It doesn't matter how you line it up, how you slice it. It can be like a Vegematic. You throw it all in there, you chop it up, you blend it, you stir it, you flip it over. It all still comes out bad if you're an Arizona Coyotes guy. James, I hope you're not going to the arena to be at $16 beers. But if so, you better bring a couple $100 so you can get tanked because Arizona's going to get torched.
Well, what are you going to do? And now, it sounds to me like it's time to go to the association. Get a little hoop.
Now we'll just tell them that there is no NBA, and we'll see what he does.
Yeah, there you go.
No, seriously, we're going to go to Madison Square Garden, Jim. The Miami Heat on the road. They're going to take on the New York Knicks. And the big news coming out of New York this week during the All-Star break was that the Knicks decided that Kemba Walker will pull an Al Horford in Oklahoma City last year and not play the rest of the season. When I was talking about this on LA show yesterday, Philadelphia Tony there is a Knicks fan.
Right.
He said that he figures that'll work until Derrick Rose comes back and inevitably gets hurt like a week later, and then they need a guard.
Yeah. Then they'll call up Kemba.
And then they'll bring back Kemba Walker, and they'll be right back where they started. Let's face it, the Knicks, they've not been good, and that's probably being generous. This team is not built for a Tom Thibodeau style, where Thibodeau stresses defense. Mm-hmm. The problem is the Knicks don't have any offense to work with to counter that. You look at the fact that they're 27th in scoring offense and 27th in field goal percentage, and they're middle of the road 3-point shooting. The Heat 5th in scoring defense at 104.4. They're 5th in field goal percentage defense. They're 12th in 3-point defense. Heat 5-0-1 against the spread in their last 6 on the road as a favorite. 3-0-1 in their last 4 against teams with a losing record. 4-0-1 against the spread in their last 5 on the road. Look at that. The Knicks 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 at home against teams with a winning road record. That's just putrid. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 on Friday. The Heat 7-2 against the spread in the last 9 meetings overall. 4-1 in the last 5 meetings in New York. You have to think that the Heat will get the win and deal the Knicks another loss, dropping them further behind in the crowded Eastern Conference playoff picture that currently shows New York sitting somewhere south of Trenton, New Jersey, as they're in 12th place. They're 3 games behind the Hawks for the final spot in the play-in tournament. which would only give you an opportunity to play probably one more game before you got schmaltzed and wiped out. It just doesn't look good for the Knicks. Quick look at the injury report says R.J. Barrett, questionable sprained ankle. Nerlens Noel, questionable with sore foot. Derrick Rose, doubtful tonight. And, of course, Kemba Walker, we just said, took that ball and went home. The Heat won't have Markieff Morris, who apparently could be done for the year with that whiplash injury he suffered back in November. Right. Victor Oladipo is still recovering from knee surgery. Who the hell knows if he's going to play? He hasn't played all season. Nobody really cares because Eric Spoelstra has 55 other guys he can play, and they keep winning anyway.
Well, you talk about Tom Thibodeau likes playing defense. Eric Spoelstra can play defense, so there's your difference right there.
Well, I mean, Tibbs did a good job coaching defensively in Chicago. He had a little success.
I'm just saying he doesn't have it in New York, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, yeah, because the rotation's not built for it. I mean, Evan Fournier is not a guy you want to count on as a defensive stopper.
No.
Probably the best guy they have defensively is Mitchell Robinson, and half the time he's in foul trouble.
Right. Well, be sure to take advantage of the BetMGM NBA promotion. First-time users on the BetMGM app, all you have to do is deposit and place a bet of $10 on any NBA game, and you get $200 if either team hits a three-pointer. Okay? Pretty simple, guys.
And you're in good shape because the Knicks are 9th in the league in threes with 13.1.
There you go.
And the Heat are 7th.
Okay. You have to be 21 to do it, and as we always say, please wager wisely as we move on to a game that we thought might be good for ESPN tonight, but unfortunately, it's not going to be on ESPN.
Yeah, you know why? Because they're showing this game right here, the Heat and the Knicks.
Right.
So, find something else to watch.
And then come back later. Yes, there you go.
No, don't come back later because the late game is the Clippers and the Lakers, and nobody wants to watch that either.
No. There you go. The late show.
Euler, good to see you. You missed us talking about the cactus a couple minutes ago. We were talking about how there's going to be 12 people in attendance. Speaking of 12 people in attendance, we'll go to the Target Center where Karl Anthony Towns' whole family will make up the crowd. The Timberwolves coming off an impressive 119-114 win last night over Memphis at home. But we told you that the number was probably too high for the total because we said that in their last 12 home games, Minnesota and their opponents had averaged a combined 218.3 points. They had set that number at 241 by the time the game tipped. They got to 233, but last I checked, pretty good at math. 233 is still less than 241. This one's set at 229. It's probably still a little high. Philadelphia, a 2.5-point favorite. James Harden expected to make his debut tonight for the 76ers. I know each and every one of you guys are excited to see James Harden play with Joel Embiid. I know our good friend L.A. Bachelor was thrilled last night until we pointed out that Harden said that he's not going to opt into his his option year next year right away. He wants to test free agency, which means technically the 76ers, if they don't win the title this year, would have traded away all that stuff for nothing.
Well, there you go. But, I'm guessing ESPN, even though they're not going to do the game, there's going to be a lot of cut-ins to see how things are going out over in Philly with James Harden playing for the Sixers. Yeah,
I think so too. The thing with Minnesota, I said they won yesterday, but if you look, they're 3-6 in the second game of back-to-backs this year. They're outscored by 2 points a night. Philadelphia, they rely on defense. And I have to wonder how Harden's going to fit in with that because he's not exactly known as a defensive wizard. Minnesota's a very good offensive team. They're fifth in the league in scoring offense, despite the fact that they can't shoot to save their lives. 24th in field goal percentage, 44.7%. That's not going to get it done. Minnesota's best hope is that they can push the tempo and try and run Philadelphia ragged. But even still, playing the second game of back-to-back, you think that'll catch up to them in the second half of that game, just given the fact that you had to run and gun with Memphis for 48 minutes last night. Sure, you won the game, but at what cost did it take on you physically? 76ers 6-1 in their last 7 on the road against teams with a home winning percentage better than 600. And if you look, the 76ers have a better road record than the Timberwolves have a home record this season. They're 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 on the road. Minnesota 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 as an underdog. And the number that really sealed it for me here: Minnesota 0-4 against the spread in their last 4, playing the second game of a back-to-back situation. Philadelphia 6-1 in the last 7 meetings against the spread in Minnesota. They're 11-3 against the spread in the last 14 meetings overall. And Elliott says that Towns will get body slammed or choke slammed by Embiid. Elliott, I'm surprised you didn't say that they were going to break out the tombstone pile driver. Yeah, but I guess that would be more Ron Artest, or, as we know now, Meta World Peace.
That's right, Meta World Peace. It's time to talk a little bit about another MGM promotion. We just talked about the three-pointer. Here's one. BetMGM will give new customers a risk-free bet on your first sports wager up to $1,000. Now, it's only eligible for first-time people, and you have to use the app. Now, once you create an account, okay, and you make your first deposit plus any real bet between $10 and $1,000, okay, and what happens is this. Once you create that account, what happens is this. You make your first deposit. You place any real money bet of between $10 and $1,000. Let me try this again. Once you create an account and you make your first deposit, place any real money sports bet between $10 and $1,000. And that's all you got to do. Bingo. Easy done, easy done. Remember, you must be 21 years of age to play. Always bet responsibly. And it's very important, guys, very important, to check the show box below because it has all the details on both the NBA deal, which BetMGM has, and, of course, this BetMGM giving the new customers a risk-free bet on your first wager up to $1,000. Only new players are eligible. And, it's a cool way to get started, all right? So, a couple of real fun stuff. One other quick real fun stuff, and that has to do with our buddy Chris here. And that is, you can get Chris's parlay bets. So it's Chris King's parlay best bets. Get Chris King's parlay best bets each day, every day. Chris will send you the best parlay tickets to play, usually made up of 1 or 2 or 4 teamers, or even greater. Not everyone can win. We know that, but by playing the odds, Chris keeps things very profitable when he does. In the last 2 weeks, Chris has won 6 2-team parlays, 2 4-team parlays, 1 16 parlays, and 2 8-team parlays, earning $100 better over $30,000 in winnings. That's right. So you're going to want to check that out. It's in the show box below. You can hit that wonderful little button, and it'll take you right to where you can sign up to get all that. So,
and for the record, we were just as surprised as you because we found out about it this morning.
That's right. So, it's exciting to Chris. It's exciting to me. It should be exciting to you. And I know it's exciting because we already, Chris, had a question from one of our fine, Joaquin, I believe it was out there, who asked how he could sign up. So already somebody interested in being part of the Chris King Army, okay?
And the cool part was we had 8 teams that panned out yesterday in the shot in the dark again.
Right.
With UC Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, the Warriors and Blazers going over the number, Phoenix whipping Oklahoma City, Memphis, Minnesota staying under the number,
right.
Columbus, Florida going over 7 because, of course, Florida couldn't win the friggin' game.
Well, at least we didn't say they were going to win. We just said, here's your...
No, I said they were going to win in the 2 team, so that didn't pan out, but they went over 7, and I figured I should have just put that up in the first part. Yeah, Matthew said he went to the Nashville-Dallas game last night. Nashville ended up winning that one. As the night that they retired Pekarine's jersey. And for our good buddy Ryan, we said the San Jose Sharks would beat Barry Trotz and the Islanders, and they pulled that one out in a shootout 4-3. So that was another good night on that front, making up for some of the duds that we had in the other parts of the show.
Everything.
We're Looking at you, friggin' Cleveland, blowing a friggin' game to Detroit.
There you go. Well, look, like we said, not every time can you win, but most of the time, pay attention, Chris. You're going to find some good stuff. All right, buddy.
You learned, real quick. We covered Princeton, Harvard in the college basketball segment. Mm-hmm. I like Princeton -7. They'll play again, like I said, Sunday at Harvard. Princeton trying to lock up the top seed in the Ivy League tournament, because the fun thing about the Ivy is that not everyone knows this, Jim, probably, because there was no Ivy League tournament at all last year.
Right.
Only the top 4 teams in the Ivies go to the tournament.
That's right.
So right now, Harvard sitting 5 and 6 is 4th in the Ivies. But you look right behind them, Cornell's 5 and 7, Brown is 4 and 8, Dartmouth is 4 and 8. So those 4 teams are trying to battle for one spot.
Right.
Columbia you can write off because they're 1 and 11 and nobody cares. Mm-hmm. But Yale, Princeton, and Penn, they've locked down spots 1, 2, and 3 in whatever order that those shake out.
Right.
Because Yale's 10 and 2, Princeton 9 and 2, Penn 9 and 3. But Harvard, Cornell, Brown, and Dartmouth with a lot to play for in these last 2 weekends of the regular season in the Ivies, because only one of them will be playing in the Ivy League tournament.
There you go. All right, let's go 2 for the money, buddy. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 2 for the money.
Yeah, we just talked about the Heat -5.5 over the Knicks.
Just mentioned Princeton and Harvard.
Yep, we just covered that, so I don't have to cover it again. But like you said, Princeton 9th in the league, or nation in scoring offense, 80.6 points a game. It's a challenge for Harvard to try and keep up with that kind of offensive production, given how middle of the pack they've been. And Euler, don't worry about being late. That happens. That's why we're happy to go over stuff where, like Jim always says, if you can't make the show, it's always available on YouTube, where you can catch the podcast shortly after we're done.
Euler, pay attention to this scroll below, buddy. Go ahead.
And we talked about the Avalanche over the Jets. Colorado very good at home, especially coming back after a long road trip. And this one, I'm going against Blue Jackets again. Sure, they beat Florida yesterday, but now they've got to play the second game back-to-back here. It's their third game in 4 nights.
And you don't want to face Carolina when you're on the back end of it. 1-1.
Mark, good to see you. Hope you're doing all right over there. Nothing wrong with being late. As long as you're not late for dinner, that's all that matters.
There you go.
The Hurricanes, they haven't played since Monday. They had that back-to-back Sunday-Monday, Jim. They played. They beat Pittsburgh in the Glass House, and they beat Philadelphia, so they swept the Keystone State teams, pushed them atop the Metropolitan. You have to think that the Hurricanes, with 3 days of rest, are going to be in a bit better shape than the Blue Jackets. By the way, Columbus will start Jean-Francois Berube in net again, because Elvis Merzlikin's still out. Neil Tarasov done for the year. Eunice Corbasalo on IR. So it'll be Berube, and God, I don't even remember who their backup is, because it's some guy that I never heard of. So hopefully he doesn't play. But Frederick Anderson in net for Carolina tonight.
Elvis has not left the building.
Well, he hasn't left the building, but he's not leaving the bench either.
That's true. All right, so let's go 4 for the show.
All right, we're going to go with the Raptors, who we did not talk about, but we're talking about a Toronto team that has won 8 of their last 10. They're facing a Charlotte team that's lost 9 of their last 10. The only injury that I saw when I looked at the injury report, now apparently all of a sudden OG Anunoby is out for Toronto. He apparently somehow broke his finger. That was not there last night. That was not there earlier this morning, so I don't know if he got hurt, carrying his luggage to the plane or what. But Fred VanVleet, questionable with a sore knee, I imagine will play for the Hornets. You won't see Gordon Hayward, who remains out with an ankle injury. Cody Martin-Powell, Jalen McDaniels, and Nick Richards both doubtful for the Hornets. Not that those guys are major contributors. This was an interesting one. When I was looking through the games, I was going to throw up San Diego State, but I didn't think anybody wanted to lay 21.5 points with the Aztecs, given the fact that they don't score any points, and unless they won something like 27-6, it wouldn't matter. So I'm going to go with Marist over Manhattan in the Metro Atlantic. The Red Foxes have played some good basketball of late. I know they're only a 500 team, but they come in with 5 straight wins. John Dunn's team beat Monmouth, they beat Canisius, they beat Niagara, they beat Siena, and Siena's the second-place team in the MAC behind Iona, and they're coming off a win against Quinnipiac on Sunday. Meanwhile, Manhattan, Steve Massiola's team, they've won 3 in a row themselves, but before that they had lost 6 of 7. And they're not a great road team. I mean, they beat Quinnipiac and Fairfield on the road, but other than that, they don't have any other road wins unless you count the one over the Citadel. So I don't like them here. I like Marist. They got some momentum there at home. We talked about Vegas already.
Yeah, the Knights remain golden.
Yeah, and Philadelphia over Minnesota. I don't trust Minnesota playing the second game of back-to-back. And like Nathan said, San Diego State under is a casher. It usually is. We had that the other night when they played that game against Boise State when I was watching at the end going, boy, I hope that this guy doesn't hit one free throw and miss the other and put the game in overtime, so I had to sit and watch 5 more minutes of this crap. Fortunately, Abu Kagab hit both free throws from Boise State to end that 158-57.
All right, let's go to the entire menu, folks. This is where you can mix and match and have some fun.
Jim, and here's a suggestion. Warren would like if we do a 5-minute recap at the beginning of what went good for us and what didn't the day before. And he's got a valid point. That's something we definitely can take into consideration.
Be happy to do that, Warren. That's a very good idea. We will be happy to do it for you.
That's definitely something we can throw in because, like you said, it's a valid point because there's stuff going on that everybody likes to talk about when they win. Nobody ever likes to talk about how they lose. But I had already talked about how Pittsburgh and Florida screwed us over.
Well, on Fridays we have a guest, and so normally that kind of takes it up. But you know what? We'll do it starting on Monday. We're going to have Allie as a guest. So
we can still work it in, I think.
Yeah, we can easily work it in. Yeah, we'll get it done. All right, so the Hawkeyes and Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah, apparently, I guess, from what I understand, the Hawkeyes are going to bring back Fred Hoiberg again. Yeah. Which is strange, considering how badly they've played. It's like, how many times are you going to give this guy a job?
Evidently, another year.
Yeah. I know that, Nebraska is at home. I know that, Iowa's not a great road team. I know Iowa beat the crap out of Michigan State the other night. They could be looking ahead. They see who Iowa has next. They have Northwestern. You look and see how Iowa has been piling up points. They beat Nebraska 98-75 2 weeks ago at home. They also hung 75 on Ohio State. They beat Michigan State 86-60 the other day. Their last road game before Ohio State, they beat Maryland 110-87. Fran McCaffrey's team is one of those offensive juggernauts you don't want to face. And I got news for you. Nebraska is a terrible defensive team. I will take Iowa there. Another exciting game in the Sun Belt, South Alabama. They came off that tough loss to Texas State the other day. They faced UT Arlington at home. I like the Jaguars there. Monmouth, another team from the Metro Atlantic, -4 over St. Peter's. The Peacocks, they're another team. They're kind of like the Navy of the MAC. They play excellent defense. They can't score.
There you go.
Speaking of a team that can't score, Texas State. They won that game against South Alabama the other day. 55-52. Real offensive barn burner. But the Bobcats, they lead the Sun Belt. They're trying to lock down the top seed in the conference for the tournament. I look for them to beat Troy on the road. This next one is your real exciting 10 o'clock game for the doubleheader of ESPN, so hopefully you can find something else to watch. But I'm going to take the Clippers +2 over the Lakers. Everybody knows Anthony Davis is out. He will not play tonight. Play for a couple of weeks at least.
Right.
That means you get to watch the Russell Westbrook Brick Show on a regular basis. I just don't trust the Lakers. The Clippers, they've gotten by despite missing their 2 stars. This one's a real exciting matchup, Jim. Look at that. It's the 2 worst teams in the league. That's right, the Rockets going on the road to face Orlando.
Orlando's given points.
Yeah, Orlando. That's how bad it is. Orlando's giving points. Houston won the first one in a barn burner, 118-116 back in December at the Toyota Center. I will take 4 points.
Okay,
Rockets.
if you have to, if we were forced to watch one of those two games, even though they're not on at the same time, I think I'd have to go with the Clippers and the Lakers over watching Houston and Orlando.
See, I'd watch Houston or Orlando so I can go, hey, look, I can shoot better than that guy.
Okay.
And that guy.
Fair
and
enough.
that guy over there. And that guy.
Get the the game that Pete's going to be involved with is up next.
Yeah. The Spurs and the Wizards, the Spurs on their rodeo tour as they continue to play on the road. The thing with Washington is, they traded Montrezl Harrell, they traded Spencer Dinwiddie, they traded Davis Bertans, they don't have Bradley Beal. Who do you have left?
Not much.
Porzingis won't play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Bryant is questionable. So, you're down to Rui Hachimura and Thomas Bryant, if he plays, because they just said he's questionable with an ankle sprain, and a whole bunch of guys that don't really move the needle. Now, I know the Spurs aren't great, and they kind of waved the white flag when they traded Derek White and stuff, but they still got some capable players. I'll give 3 and take the Spurs. On the ice, I like the Kings over the Ducks. Like Nathan said, the Wizards are a shell of the team that they were before.
Yeah.
I actually liked it when they had Harold in the mix. And maybe if Porzingis can come back and play the way that we've seen him play before, maybe Washington can make a move in the standings. I don't know; they're only a half game behind the Hawks, I think, for the last spot in the play-in tournament.
Yep.
But he's got to get on the floor because you can't have your best players in street clothes this time of year. I like the Kings over the Ducks. The Kings have played good hockey of late, which is scary because I'm used to them being a doormat. I guess you can say the same about the Ducks, but I like Los Angeles. I'm going to go with the Blackhawks at home over the Devils. Like we said, the Devils beat Pittsburgh yesterday, but it's the second game of back-to-back. They could be riding the momentum of that and then getting run over by the Blackhawks. And finally, the Blues, minus 320 or minus 1.5 on the puck line over the Sabres. Billy Husso went bench for St. Louis. It'll be Craig Anderson, who's reportedly almost as old as Keith Richards, in net for Sabres. Buffalo just not a great team. St. Louis is a very effective offensive team, and they should put the boots to Buffalo at the Enterprise Center or whatever the hell they call the building in St. Louis now. I liked it better when it was the Checker Dome or the Kiel
the Checker Dome doesn't exist anymore. But,
right, but they can still play there.
No,
I'm
yeah,
sure
they could call it. They could call it the Checker Dome.
I saw Tom ask real quick about Georgia State and Louisiana Lafayette. I don't know what happened to Louisiana this year. They have not been as impressive as they've been in recent years. They've won 3 in a row. They beat Georgia Southern the other day. The total for that is 141. I know the first meeting between those teams, they combined for 132. Georgia State took a 68-64 win. But if you look at recent games, the last 5 games for Louisiana, their totals have been 155, 157, 155, 153, 151. Meanwhile, Georgia State, coached by, oddly enough, Rob Lanier, who, is the son of Bob Lanier.
Right.
I actually met Rob Lanier way back in 1988 when he was a student at his dad's alma mater, St. Bonaventure. I was there for Jim Kelly's first celebrity football camp back then.
There you go.
And, I'm glad to see, he caught on another gig. He had some time in Siena. Now he's moved down to Georgia State.
Mm-hmm.
You got to watch out, Georgia State. Talk about hot teams. 6 straight wins, 8 and 9. Their last 5 games, they've been pushing down the totals. You look, 111 against Coastal, 107 against App State, 142 against Georgia Southern, then 107 against Georgia Southern. But then it was 152 against Louisiana Monroe. Georgia State likes to run. I'm not going to take that away from them by any stretch. And so does Louisiana. I think, especially the way Louisiana turns the ball over, Georgia State can get some transition buckets. I think that one is going to end up going over the mark, probably by a few points. As for the last game I see up there, Gloria asked us about Richmond. Richmond at home tonight against St. Louis. The Billikens come in with a record of, I believe it's 19-9. They're 10-5 in the A10. Richmond 18-10. They're 9-6 in the A10. These teams battling for seeding in the tournament because St. Louis currently 5th, Richmond 6th. Everybody wants to get in the top 4 for the good old double bye there.
Right.
Currently occupied by Davidson, Dayton, VCU, and St. Bonaventure. It's going to be an interesting game. The problem with Richmond that I've seen on a regular basis is you don't know how Chris Mooney's team is going to respond. The good news is they're at home. The bad news is, which version are we going to see? Are we going to see the Richmond team that was drubbed by 20 by VCU last week? Or are we going to see a team that beat George Washington? Are we going to see a team that beat St. Bonaventure a few weeks ago? Or are we going to see the team that lost to George Mason?
You got me.
Yeah. And I guess with St. Louis, they lost 3 of their last 5. They beat St. Joe's the other day. Doesn't really impress me. They beat LaSalle last week. Doesn't impress me either. They got swept by St. Bonaventure in a home and home. They lost to Davidson. I'm going to lean towards Richmond, mainly because I don't think the line is very big. It's 2 or 3 points. Richmond is 10-3 at home. St. Louis is 4-5 on the road. I would give 3, but if it goes any higher than that, I would either lean towards St. Louis or stay away from it altogether. Just because, like I said, Richmond is so up and down.
Sometimes the best bet you make is the one you don't.
That's true.
So, anybody else out there?
It's better to not make a bet on a game that you're uncertain of than to just
take a flyer.
Because you're hoping.
Yeah.
John, we talked about the Knicks. I'm hoping that you meant to type New York Knicks and not say my Knicks, because you said my Knicks and I didn't say that I don't trust them. But yeah, I think Miami's going to win that one. Like we said,
that was one of our highlights.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau. I feel bad for him because
he's a good coach.
He's a great coach.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the personnel to play his style of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Knicks don't have the offensive weapons to keep up with teams.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about Spoelstra a whole bunch, You've seen all the guys Miami's been missing at times. They had Adebayo gone for, 6-8 weeks. Jimmy Butler's been in and out. Tyler Hero's been in and out. And they're still right up there with the Bulls in the Eastern Conference. And the Bulls are another team that have had to deal with attrition and injuries and stuff that still win games. So if Billy Donovan and Spoelstra are not in the running for Coach of the Year, because everybody will say, well, what about Steve Kerr and what about Monty Williams? Well, you can put those guys up there pretty much every freaking year because they their teams perform. What about Mike Budenholzer? Same thing.
Now you got look. But Billy's done a great job in Chicago. Eric always does a good job in Miami, and those are guys who normally fly under the radar. You're absolutely right when it comes to Coach of the Year stuff. They're not the kind of guys who are talkers.
Nobody's going out saying, "Hey, let's vote for." I don't even know who Minnesota's coach is because I can't remember because that's how bad it is. Nobody's running out and saying, we should vote for Chris Finch for Coach of the Year because Minnesota's 4 games above 500.
There you go.
Nobody's saying, we should vote for, Taylor Jenkins because Memphis is 41-20.
Right.
You always hear the same names every year for every award. It gets old. I'm going to start my own damn awards.
There you go. We'll give them out. We'll call them the Kings, all the Kings men. We'll call them the Kings men. So, my favorite Eric Spoelstra story goes back to the first year that LeBron was in Miami. And LeBron didn't like Eric because Eric made players do things. LeBron didn't like that. So, LeBron decides he's going to have one of his minions go up to Greg Cody, who's one of the top sports writers in Miami, and say, hey, look, why don't you write a column about the fact that LeBron doesn't like Eric Spoelstra and he'd like to have Pat Riley coach. And Eric goes, this is Greg Cody. So Greg Cody says, it's nice of you to come up and tell me that, but I'd rather LeBron tell me that. And he goes, and frankly, I'd rather LeBron tell Pat that. You don't need me to do that. So LeBron goes to Pat's office and says, I think we'd be better off if you coached, and if Eric, if you just, get rid of Eric, you come down, you coach. I think we'll be better off. Riley stops him halfway through and says, "Do you see what it says on my door?" Well, LeBron goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Look at my door." The door says, "General Manager Pat Riley." He goes, "Does it say Coach Pat Riley?" No. He says, he goes, "Here's how we do this in my area. You play, Eric coaches, I'm the general manager. That's how it works. You don't like that?" He goes, "That's not my problem."
And Sly brings up a valid point. Jamie Bickerstaff in Cleveland is another guy that nobody talks about.
Good point.
He's done a great job there, too. And I think what we're going to do, Jim, is we're going to do our own awards. And I want you guys to submit who you think the finalists will be. We'll come up with a list of what awards we want to give out, and we're going to let you guys nominate who the finalists are, and then we'll tell you who we think it should be.
Right, and you can do it in the comments below, okay? The comments below or the Facebook page. You can go to our Facebook page. The link is in the show box. You can do that, and let's start now. Let's start getting the information in there. We're going to do the same thing. We'll do the same thing for hockey if you want to, Chris. We can do the same thing. We can do. You want All-Americans? Put them in. We can do that for college. So we're going to take all the feedback that you want to give to us on college, on the NHL, and on the NBA, and we'll put it all together. We'll come up with it, and as we'll have an award show. Chris and I will break out our tuxedos. We'll do our award show, and we'll do it right here. So there you go. All right, cool. All right, some quick business. Hang on, 3:00. Our buddies Scott and Scott.
Biff.
What?
Steve and Biff.
Right, Steve and Biff. Scott and Scott, back to the window, 3:00 right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network. Remember, we got two, not one, but two BetMGM promotions. The first one, take advantage of the MGM promotion with regard to the NBA. All the information is in the show box below on that one. Also, new customers get up to a free sports wager of up to $1,000 when you put at least $10 in to your betting into your betting account. Thank you, account. I forgot for a moment the account for your betting account, and all that information on the two promotions for BetMGM. Also in the show box below, we've been talking about our buddy Chris here and all the cool stuff he's doing with parlays. All that's in the information in the show box below. So please take a couple of minutes, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the show box below, make comments. Like we said before, we'll give away the awards, but you guys are going to help us. All right, so guys and gals, help us. Tell us what you like. Put it in the comments below, or go to our Facebook page and put it there, okay? All right, well, any final thoughts, Chris? Any final questions that we want to get out of the way here?
I think it's going to be a good weekend when you look at some of the games that are on the docket this week. So it's going to be a very busy weekend as we move into the last couple of weekends before, and in some cases it's the last weekend before we start rolling into conference tournaments like Pete told you.
Right.
Patriot League will kick off their tournament next week. You'll see a lot of the smaller conferences start their tournaments up. Kudos to Murray State for completely dismantling Belmont and putting them in a situation where they're going to have to find a way to upend the Racers or hope Murray State gets upset in order to get into the NCAA tournament with their second romp over the Bruins yesterday. But other than that, enjoy the weekend. Plenty of opportunities. You can watch Auburn, Tennessee tomorrow, for example. That'll be a good matchup. Kentucky is in action against, who is it? I'm trying to look because there's so many games tomorrow. Kentucky faces Arkansas. That's going to be a good tilt. In the mid majors, you got Cleveland State, Oakland. That's going to be an exciting matchup. You got to watch out for Hofstra. They've been on a roll in the Colonial. UNC Wilmington's going to face Delaware. Basically, everywhere you look, you can throw a stone and find a good game on one of 378 different channels.
Well, there's Pac-12's got some games out there, West. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff to watch.
You got Colorado State, Utah State, Boise State's going to go and take on UNLV. That's going to be an exciting matchup in the Mountain West.
We'll talk about that with Allie on Monday.
Yep. Got Gonzaga, St. Mary's tomorrow, guys. That's going to be a big one in the West Coast.
Yeah.
The Zags, of course, took down the San Francisco Dons yesterday. St. Mary's also won their game. They beat the crap out of somebody that wasn't very good.
Pacific.
They beat the University of San Diego.
Okay. Everybody seems to be beating them these days.
Yeah, everybody beats Pacific too. But
that's true. Got a safe bet on that one. All right, gang. Tell you what. Lots of good stuff. Have a great weekend. Come back. Bring your pens and pencils. Write your questions.
Jason, I thought you were going to chase Murray State yesterday. We talked about it during the show. I thought you said the -3 looked good. I thought you were taking them.
But Nathan didn't take them?
Yeah, he said he knew he should have been on him yesterday. I thought that he was...
Nathan.
When we talked about the game, I thought he was going after him because we said that 3 points seemed like a low mark considering A, Murray State was unbeaten at home, and B, they had whipped Belmont by 22 on the road.
Nathan.
I thought he jumped on him.
You got to listen, buddy. You got to pay attention.
Oh, well, he's done pretty well on his own. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I just thought that he had jumped on that game.
Yeah. All right, gang. We had a lot of fun. You guys are a lot of fun to hang around with. We will be back Monday, regular time, 1:30. Allie will be with us. By all means, check out all of our information, as I said, in the show box below. You've got every possible way to follow us. Our Twitter handles are right there in front of us. And put all the comments, as we said before, on the awards in the show box below. And you got the comment section there. Click on the Facebook page. You can post it on Facebook if you want to, so everybody can see it. You can see it in the comments as well. So let's make this interactive. Let's make it fun. And let's make it a habit, okay? We will see.
And remember, if you have any questions over the weekend or whatever, like Jim said, there's my Twitter handle. I'm usually on during the day. I can get back to you. I know Tom has asked me a few questions the last few days. I've dealt with him. I've gone back and forth with John a bunch of times. So feel free to reach out. I'm not that hard to find. Just let me know that you sent me a message, because a lot of times if you send a direct message, they don't let you know until way after the fact. So,
yep. If you DM somebody, just
just send a regular tweet telling me that you sent one. So
say keep a lookout, dummy. That's how it works. That's
you big dummy. What are you, Red Fox now?
Yeah, it's me. The Red Foxes are playing. So there you go. So anyway, look, folks, we've had a great week. We're getting kind of slap happy at the end of the week, but we've had a lot of fun. 3 o'clock, back to the window, Scott and Scott. We'll be back here on Monday. Have a great and safe weekend.
We'll be here with Allie Burns Monday, so
that's right,
Allie
Burns. You liked her last week. You're gonna love her again this week. So come and check out Allie. She's got a lot of fun stuff going on. And be sure to check out our buddies at Picks and Parlays. They're all good people, too. So we will see you come Monday, 1:30, right here. Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network. Until then, everybody, have a great and safe weekend, okay? Cool.
I think it was a good show.
Yeah, it was fun.
Bad part was Pete cutting out all the time.
Well, that's why I wanted. That's why I wanted to wrap it up quick, because I'm afraid that if we had kept Pete for another 5 minutes, when you drive in the city like that,